While millions of people are shouting in stadiums, painting their faces, and feeling emotionally crushed because 11 strangers lost a game, there's also a large group who just don't care. And according to neuroscience, their brains might actually be wired differently. And according to neuroscience, that difference isn't apathy, it's wiring. A completely different way the brain finds meaning, tribe, and excitement. Stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you will completely change how you see the sports-obsessed people in your life. Here's what nobody talks about. Not caring about sports doesn't make you boring. It doesn't mean you lack passion. And it definitely doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. But something fascinating is happening in your brain. Something completely different from the 60% of Americans who follow sports religiously. Let's explore what truly separates sports-obsessed people from those who couldn't care less. Chapter 1. The Noise. It's Sunday afternoon. Lucas, 32, walks past a crowded sports bar. Every seat is filled, faces painted, hands clenched, people shouting as if their lives hang in the balance. Inside, the atmosphere feels electric. For Lucas, it's just noise. He doesn't hate it. He just doesn't understand it. Why do strangers scream for other strangers to move a ball across a field? Why do they feel heartbreak over something they can't control? Humans once needed tribes for survival. Our ancestors hunted together, defended each other, survived together. In that world, being part of a group wasn't optional. It was safety. Sports today serve a similar psychological function. They're modern tribes, complete with symbols, rivalries, rituals, and chants. Every time a fan watches their team, their brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. The same chemical that builds trust between friends and family. Their brain literally tells them, "These are my people." But what about Lucas, someone who doesn't feel that pull? Science has an answer. Chapter 2. The Outsider's Brain. Psychologists describe people like Lucas as having low tribal drive. Their identity isn't tied to belonging. They draw meaning internally, not from group membership. A 2019 study found that individuals uninterested in sports show much less us versus them thinking. Their brains don't automatically categorize the world into allies and enemies. They're not cold, they're independent. And that independence often comes with a more stable self-concept. They don't rely on external victories to feel successful. When they say, "they won," it's never "we." Their self-worth isn't hostage to a final score. From a neurological perspective, this mindset can create emotional equilibrium, a resistance to the collective highs and lows that sports fans ride week after week. Chapter 3. The Addictive Arena. But why do fans ride that roller coaster so willingly? Because biologically it's thrilling. Inside the brain of a dedicated fan, every play is a dopamine spike, the same chemical that fuels excitement, anticipation, and even addiction. The unpredictability of sports, never knowing whether the team will win or lose, keeps that dopamine engine running non-stop. This is known as intermittent reinforcement. It's the same reward pattern that makes slot machines so addictive. Every near miss, every almost, every maybe this time, keeps the brain hooked. For true enthusiasts, watching the game becomes a neurological high. For people like Lucas, whose dopamine systems don't light up from vicarious competition, the experience just doesn't register as exciting. And interestingly, part of this difference might be genetic. Research from the University of Chicago found links between variations in dopamine receptor genes and how strongly people respond to competitive spectator activities. In other words, your indifference to sports might literally be in your DNA. Chapter 4. The Quest for Meaning. One of the strongest motives behind sports fandom isn't the game, it's meaning. When a team wins, fans share in that glory. Psychologists call it basking in reflected glory. They say, "We won." But when that same team loses, it's, "They lost." People protect their self-esteem by keeping distance from failure and merging with success. Those who don't obsess over sports tend to skip this fluctuation entirely. Their sense of self doesn't depend on outcomes outside their influence. They find meaning elsewhere, through art, knowledge, relationships, causes, creation. A 2021 study found people uninterested in sports scored significantly higher in openness to experience, a trait linked to creativity, curiosity, and appreciation for beauty. While fans find transcendence in the drama of a final match, non-fans find it in a sunrise, a symphony, a book, a conversation. Both chase the same underlying feeling, connection and significance. They just access it differently. Chapter 5. The Emotional Economy. There's another twist, empathy. Studies show sports fans can actually score higher on certain empathy scales. They practice caring deeply about others, teammates, players, even entire groups of strangers wearing the same colors. So why don't non-fans show the same emotional engagement? Because empathy works like energy. It has limits. Everyone allocates it differently. Some direct that empathy toward personal relationships or creative pursuits. Their emotional bandwidth goes into places where their care matters, projects, people, ideals they can influence. They don't lack empathy, they redirect it. It's less about detachment and more about investment choice. Chapter 6. The anti-tribe meet Clara, 28, an illustrator who has never followed a single match. For years, she thought something was wrong with her. At school, she never knew the scores. Every class chat excluded her. Sports became a symbol of exclusion. So, she withdrew. Over time, that distance turned into identity. But through therapy, Clara discovered her avoidance wasn't just defense. It was focus. She realized she experiences flow, that state of deep absorption, not through watching competition, but through creating art. The psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi called this optimal experience. Some reach it on the field, others with a paintbrush. The difference is active participation versus observation. Sports fans live narrative through others. People like Clara live it directly, creating, building, exploring. It's not superiority. It's simply two paths to the same psychological destination, immersion and meaning. Chapter 7. The Quiet Rebellion. There's something quietly radical about not caring who wins. While friends lose their minds over scores, while offices freeze for tournaments, non-fans reclaim those hours for their own pursuits. They're not spending 3 hours watching someone else chase glory. They're out chasing their own. In a world that idolizes collective excitement, staying detached demands strength. It means your emotions aren't governed by the schedule of a league. Your identity doesn't depend on borrowed victories. Maybe that independence unsettles others because it mirrors something they secretly envy: emotional self-sufficiency. Chapter 8. The Two Stories. At its core, this divide isn't about balls, goals, or points. It's about meaning. Sports fans crave narrative, the underdog, redemption, triumph. They find philosophical beauty in unpredictability. It gives chaos a shape, life a storyline. Non-fans see randomness in it. They ask, why invest emotion in outcomes that don't alter reality? Both are right. Both are human. One finds transcendence through others' battles, the other through their own. For some, life is a stadium. For others, it's a studio, a lab, a walk in the forest. What ties them both is the search for something that moves them, something that reminds them they're alive. The psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, known for developing the concept of flow, discovered that this state of complete immersion can arise from countless activities, for some through sports, for others in completely different ways. What's fascinating is that people who aren't passionate about sports often say they feel more present in their own lives. Instead of spending hours watching other people's battles, they invest their energy in their own. And that, quietly yet powerfully, is a small revolution. So if you've never cared who scored the winning goal, it doesn't make you detached. You've just tuned your brain differently. Your reward center, your sense of tribe, your empathy, all calibrated toward a different kind of fulfillment. You aren't missing out on meaning, you're building it. Every moment you choose presence over spectacle, creation over consumption, participation over observation, you're playing a far more personal game. And maybe, just maybe, the stakes in that one are even higher.